Dude, I can't do intros. This is so awkward. I give up. I'm just gonna do one where it's like awful. Hi, welcome back to the best years of your life. We're gonna be continuing on with the second part of Emma's story. And I just wanted to say there's some updates. A good amount of people that I knew wanted to have different names and different designs. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them like that before we start the story so it's not confusing later. So first things first, Wu Yang wanted to change his name to Spawn, and then my closest friend at the time wanted to be named Lewis, so now they're Lewis, or maybe it's Louis. And then guy B from the last video wanted to change his name to Babs, and two other guys who are going to be mentioned wanted to be called. These are so stupid. They wanted to be called Cupcake and Hamster. There's also going to be some new additions. So we've got Emma, as you know, we've got Ratha, and we've got Harpy. Oh, and please let me know if the audio got better. I got the house to myself, so I'm able to speak freely. We're also going to try to speed this up, so let's go. So as you know, Emma exists. However, she wasn't really that active past grade 10 second semester, thank God. I made a couple friends, and there were two friends that I made in the second semester that one of them seemed to be very close with Emma, and honestly, that's not a big deal. A lot of girls were, but they told me a lot about Emma that I think they were the only ones who were told that information. Which is wrong because Emma talks, and she talks a lot to a lot of people, especially guys. And for some reason, the guys always told me what was going on, and the girls also told me what was going on in Emma's life. Anyways, so I know most of the rumors and I remember them, but we're not going to get into it because then we'll be here forever. But one of the main rumors that was going around, like especially so because people were concerned, was about her very toxic boyfriend. Now, to a degree, I wasn't sure how much I would believe her about any of these rumors, but considering the fact that most of the rumors are what people witnessed rather than what she said about him, made me consider maybe it is actually the truth. Now, a lot of people, like I'm not even joking, a lot of people told me about her boyfriend and about a different story or the same story that I already heard about how her boyfriend was hurting her or how they saw it happen like outside. And I'm currently best friends with one of the people she was super super close with. Actually, I guess that's two or maybe three. I think I'm best friends with three of them. But anyways, I'm like pretty certain most of the information that I was fed was true about him. Especially the rumors about the fact that she kept defending him all the time. She would go to these people and she'd be like, oh my god, he's awful. I'm gonna break up with him. I'm never gonna be with him again. And then go to those same people after he made up with her and was like, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. And then she'd be like, oh my god, you're right. You're my true love. You guys stop harassing him. And obviously, it was just really funny watching people get frustrated and coming to me and being like, oh, why is she doing this? Anyways, we're gonna flash forward to grade 11. And in grade 11, I heard about the stuff with Palestine. I had been pretty aware of what was happening. And the MSA was doing a lot of work. Oh, sorry, I should probably introduce the MSA. Okay, so the MSA stands for the Muslim Student Association. And the presidents that were there were doing a lot of activism for Palestine and the genocide that was happening. And I was so proud of them. They were doing such an amazing job. The MSA was one of the coolest clubs at our school, and it still was afterwards. Now, I didn't join the MSA mainly because Emma was in the MSA and I kind of just didn't want to see her, but also I didn't want to take away her safe space, if that makes sense, because technically speaking, she did already take away my safe space in the school, but I'm not a bad person, so I'm not going to do that back to her. The only times I ever interacted with the MSA was when I was making jewelry. I was making Palestine themed jewelry, and I was thinking, oh, maybe they could use it to fundraise, so I was just kind of developing it, and I would show up every once in a while, not at the club, but to the leaders and to the main teacher, and was like, hey, by the way, I'm doing this. Let me know if this is good or not. And they seemed to really like it, so I just continued to pester them about it. Now, during second semester, they had an event that was meant to be for fundraising, specifically for Palestine. and I thought, oh, I could bring my jewelry there and I could give it to them for them to sell. So that was the first thing I did immediately. I went to the building, I got dressed up, I had my jewelry, and I was looking around to find the leaders, and I did find them eventually. But what was strange is there was tables at the front, but there was no volunteers. Like literally nobody to greet you at the front door. And when I went to the leaders, they both said, "Oh, the person who's organizing this event is Harpy." And I'm like, "Harpy? I don't know who Harpy is, but okay." So I wait around and then I find Harpy and I say, "Hey, I have this jewelry. Is it okay if I sell it there?" And a couple of the other people who are also members there that I'd seen in passing were like, "Totally, let's put it down." And she also said she'd like to put it down. So I put it down on the table beside the bracelet making. And eventually, I just ended up volunteering to help at the table. Technically, I was a guest, but I also didn't really care. And as I was sitting down next to a dude who we're going to call Alex. And Alex is still my best friend. And Alex was best friends with Emma and Harpy. And Emma told Alex stuff about me that made me sound like the devil. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So this should have been way more awkward than it was. But I think I was just so oblivious to everything and to everyone that was around me. It didn't even matter. But anyways, I didn't have any ill ideas about Alex or Harpy in the slightest. I just assumed Harpy was a very organized and good, I guess capable leader. And I knew Alex from another person, so I thought I already knew he was a cool person. I didn't think he thought I was a terrible person. Anyway, so around the end of that event, Harpy was really concerned and looking around trying to find Emma. And I was like, why are you trying to find Emma? And apparently, Harpy was told by Emma's grandparents that they needed to find Emma to drive her home. And so I assumed that they had to be close enough, like at least family friends close enough, for them to be talking to each other as if they were really close sisters. And she was so lost that they actually had to go in the announcements, and the principal had to call her. And obviously, she was with her boyfriend at the time. We're gonna call him Ratha. So there was a break, I think, that happened right after the event, and when I saw Harpy again, she basically told me the MSA had about 2 to 3 weeks before their next event, and I was like, damn, that is a really short deadline. So obviously, I sign up and I do the Google form. I go, I want to do decor, I want to do cleanup, and I didn't think much of it really. But then the teams got announced. And not only did I somehow get the leadership position in the decor group, but Emma was working under me with her boyfriend. So my group consisted of Babs, Cupcake, Guy D, Hamster, Emma, Ratha, Harpy, and we're gonna call the last guy Dino. And I believe there were a couple other people, but they aren't really central to the story, so we're just gonna skip over that. Now, as the leader, I made a group chat and I added every single person that was in the decor group into this group chat. And majority of the group chat at the beginning was just about wrestling, and it was just Babs and Dino and Guy D talking about wrestling the entire time. It was like this ongoing joke. It got to the point where they added their alt accounts and they'd be like, "Oh, my cousin, he's hyping me up." And then they'd hype each other up like constantly. And it was really funny. It was really entertaining, honestly. But the other thing that they did a lot was they would troll Harpy, Ratha, and Emma like all the time. But anyways, so Babs, Guy D, and Dino were all really close friends. And then there was Cupcake and Hamster, who were also really close friends. And then Emma, Ratha, and Harpy were a group of their own. Now, Emma was also an art student like me, so she really wanted to do pamphlets with Ratha. She wanted to get some props for the photo booth and a couple other things. And I didn't want to be the person to tell her we couldn't do that because I was in the student council before and I already knew everything she was saying was way too ambitious to do within 2 to 3 weeks. Not that we couldn't do it, but that the school would never fund it. But I knew if I was the one to tell her about it, she would absolutely be like, "Oh my god, she's attacking me." So I didn't even try. Now, within like basically a week or less, her ideas got shot down. Surprise, surprise, not really. But considering I didn't even know what our budget is, I didn't really know what we could plan. So instead, I wanted the group to kind of decide on a color palette. And the color palette was silvers, creams, dark blue, and light blue because our MSA banner and our MSA like brand looked a lot like the night sky and it had moons and stars in it, obviously. So it was just nice to stay on theme. And after that, I ended up just volunteering myself. Instead of buying lanterns, I was gonna make lanterns. And I got my construction paper from our art teacher, who is amazing. I love you. I can't say your name here, but you were amazing. And, I just sent them in the group chat. And then Emma in like my private DMs was like, hey, could I also make lanterns? And I was like, sure, go for it. It's not like we could have too many lanterns, really. If you're wondering what anyone else was doing in the group, people who were not a part of the story made banners and I believe they made other decorations. And Cupcakes was advocating for cupcakes and was absolutely wanting cupcakes. I think this was a running joke. And one of my favorite jokes is that I kept getting accused of racism by Emma to the point where racism was just code word for kicking out Ratha. Because Ratha was just a troll, but he wasn't a funny troll. He was just annoying. Like, there's a difference between what Babs was doing whenever he was, joking about wrestling and whatnot, and then Ratha just being annoying. So I had to kick him out, like, very frequently. And whenever they wanted me to kick him out, they would just say, hey, can you invoke some racism? Hey, we need some racism. However, it wasn't always really fun. Like, don't get me wrong, the group was great, but Emma was so infuriating. Oh my god. I hadn't seen what she'd done with the lanterns yet, the ones that she was making, until Ratha just kept being like, oh my god, Emma made these amazing lanterns. And he just kept spamming the chat about these lanterns. And I was like, okay, sure, I haven't seen it yet, but we'll see. Now, I see one image, which is the one that's on color theme. It's like a dark blue with some Palestine written on the bottom, and it's really cute. And then there was a watermelon version of the lantern. And I was totally fine with it. Don't get me wrong, it's off color scheme, but do get me right, it's still beautiful, and I understand why it was made. So I didn't really care. And Ratha, being Ratha, was like, oh my god, they look so much better than yours. At least she has variety. And immediately the guys in the group chat were like, what are you talking about? And even I was like, I didn't know this was competition. And obviously, both Emma and Ratha backed down after that. But not for long, because right after this, Ratha was like, hey, can we have, like, different lanterns? And I was like, what do you mean by different? And he's like, could they be, like, colorful? And I'm like, that's not, duh, they can be, what do you mean colorful? And he just kept, like, doing this weird dance with me where she wouldn't tell me what it is, but he just kept being like, can we make them colorful or not? And it's like, yeah, you can make them colorful. They're lanterns. But he was like, no, but like, can they be colorful? And I'm like, what do you mean? And then I'm like, okay, do you mean like rainbow? And he's like, no, because I was trying to make a joke, because for some reason this guy just really didn't like Pride, so anything about rainbows was funny to me. And he was just like, no, not the rainbow. And I'm like, okay, so then what? And the guys in the group chat were getting absolutely fed up, and they were like, dude, can you hurry up and tell us what you mean? Because you are being cryptic. And then miraculously, Emma shows up, and it's like, oh, he just means purples and greens. Which I'm not gonna lie, that does sound like you're just doing the rainbow now, really. Because you got the watermelon one, which is red and green, and then you have the blue one, and then you have the purple one. At this point, I don't know why you don't have an orange and a yellow one. And even a yellow one would have worked because our color scheme had cream in it. But anyways, I was like, okay, she's gonna somehow turn this into something. So I went in her DMs and I was like, hey, I'm sorry that I wasn't understanding what he was talking about. I hope I didn't come off as like offensive. You are totally allowed to just make different colored lanterns. It doesn't really matter. The color scheme can be flexible. I'll just tell the people who are doing the banner to include your colors. And then I did that and I took a screenshot. I sent it to her. And then she just randomly said, oh yeah, actually I'm not doing the lanterns anymore. So obviously I asked because I was curious to see if this was an actual issue or if she was just making a scene because she could make a scene. So anyways, basically she was telling me that people were complaining about the quality, but the thing is, there was no complaints about the quality in the group chat, and she just wouldn't tell me what she's talking about, so she very easily could have been fabricating this, and I still believe that she was. So I asked her to give me names, right? And then she leaves to break her fast and she comes back later. And she basically says that the people who were saying this were friends with her boyfriend at the time, Ratha. And then continues to be like, oh, I'm never gonna volunteer ever again. I'm never gonna be here. I'm just gonna graduate. I don't care. And obviously, I was like, why is your boyfriend's friends doing this? And also, I need to know still the names. Then she says they're in the group chat. So I'm like, okay, who? And then she's like, actually, never mind. I'm gonna let Ratha deal with it. Why? So I keep pestering her, like, I should know about this because, one, that doubles my workload, even, like, objectively speaking. But two, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Can you just tell me? And then she just keeps saying, like, oh, I'm not volunteering anymore. They don't value me. And I keep telling her, like, we do value your time, and it would be nice if you could tell me who's bothering you so that they stop doing that. And then she tells me she let Harpy know, which also isn't helpful here. Because Harpy's your friend. How do I know she's not lying? And then she's like, oh, I'll just give you the lanterns, which is not helpful here either. I don't care. Like, virtually, I don't care about the lanterns anymore. All I care about is the fact that you're telling me people are harassing you, and you're probably lying about it, and you don't care that you're lying about it, and you keep saying, oh, they don't value me. Oh, they don't, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Just to make a scene, and for what? And then she says, hey, it's been 3 years, which, by the way, it's been 3 years since you've been harassing me. So I said, oh, I could say the same, but I don't think she got the memo there. So anyway, she just keeps telling me, Harpy's gonna deal with it, Harpy's gonna deal with it, Harpy's gonna deal with it, my boyfriend's gonna deal with it. Okay, fine. You deal with it. Tell me about it later. So anyways, after this, she dramatically leaves the group chat and then is also adding her boyfriend's alt account in the group chat, was talking on her boyfriend's main account, and then was still in the group chat as her boyfriend's account, and then added herself anyways. And I was just so confused. I was like, I thought you quit. And then she didn't answer. She answered in the group chat, and then I was like, oh, it's okay. I already read what you said in the group chat. And then she doesn't even answer what that message was either. She just goes, okay, and then she leaves. I'm assuming the reason why that was so dramatic but also so short was because the guys either held her accountable or she got a really bad case of the FOMO the second she did this. Now, two other things happened. Harpy really wanted some lettuce cups that our gardening teacher had. And by the way, lettuce cups, I was confused too. Lettuce cups are literally little lettuce plants that are put in cups, and we put them on the tables and they'd be really cute. And I thought, considering the fact that Harpy said she wanted to do this, that she was going to be the one to either guide me on how to do it as a leader or that she would do it herself, and that is fine. But then the day happens and she doesn't tell me. And as the leader, I had to both organize the lanterns and organize how we were going to decorate, on top of figuring out where the heck these lettuce cups are, and not letting down the gardening teacher, because I like the gardening teacher. We agreed to have some, event with the lettuce cups or whatever. So I didn't want to, like, not find them. So anyways, I deconstructed my lanterns so that they were flat, and I put them in a bag, and I was trying to show some of the members, like, hey, this is how you assemble it, because I didn't want the lanterns to get crushed. Now, Emma had not done that with her lanterns, so her lanterns were really sad looking, which was fine. I didn't really mind. But she was like, oh, my lanterns don't look that good, blah, blah, blah. And then Ratha was like, no, your lanterns look so much better than hers. Don't you dare say that about my girlfriend. And whatever. So anyways, I tell the members what I need them to do so I can go find these lettuce cups, and I'm about to turn the corner. And then I hear Emma say, actually, I don't think Suba said that. And then tried to change up what my orders were, so I immediately turned around and I was like, no, actually, I did say that. Do you need me to repeat what I said? And then she went silent and I left, and I was just like, oh my god, is she gonna do this the entire time? Now, the members were doing a great job. I'd say Hamster and Babs were definitely the ones that were helping the most. Beyond that, though, I just had to avoid Emma, and it was a pretty okay day. I didn't realize how much this was draining me, and I ended up taking a nap at the top of the stairs in the front foyer. And I got messages later that were like, hey, we need help with cleanup. And I was like, oh no. So I immediately had to go do that. And oh, by the way, I did find the lettuce cups. Anyway, so the event's over, the day's done, and the group chat still exists, but I didn't think there would be any more issues because me and Emma weren't doing anything with the event, so there was no reason for her to cause a scene anymore, right? So, two main things happened. One of the things that happened was that Emma's boyfriend's account changed from what it used to look like, and it had some Pinterest girls like profile picture up there. And I wasn't actually online when this was happening. I was watching a movie at the time, and the guys were just absolutely hammering in, not on the guy, but on Emma herself. I didn't understand what was going on, but I didn't care. It was just entertaining. And Emma's losing her mind. Her boyfriend did tell the guys, like, hey, Emma did this, right? And she was just like, no, you're accusing me. I never did this, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Babs is like having fun, making fun of her, whatever. Just, we can tell she's lying, but I don't know. She got really, really pissed about this. And, you know, I still just thought this was pretty funny. I didn't really care, and I don't care still. Oh, look, the consequences of my own actions. And, you know, I'm just like, he assumed that you did it, and you did it. I don't understand what the problem is here. But also, she and Harpy have like this really weird superiority complex where if somebody else has an issue in the group chat, they'll say, you should take this in the DMs. You should take this privately. And here she is complaining in the group chat. Okay, and then the second event actually happened a couple days before this, but we're gonna just skip over that for now. Basically, what you gotta know is that there was tensions building up between Harpy and the rest of the guys, and then me and Emma got into a really big fight a couple days before this happened, and the group was made aware of it, and it was brought up into DMs, and it took hours. Like, you can see this entire recording took like 3 minutes to do, and that long fight never actually got resolved, and the tension just continued to go on after that. And then there was one last event, and this one broke the GC. Now, I was actually asleep when this happened, so I missed most of it, but basically what happened was Ratha, Emma's boyfriend, sent in a message that basically boiled down to, you gotta treat us right or else we're not gonna let you volunteer. And there was a lot of things that were really weird with this message in of itself. Which is, one, when was Emma at the same level as Harpy? And two, since when was Harpy at the same level as the president of the MSA? On top of that, there's actually two presidents, and neither of them are Harpy and Emma. The other president was just deliberately not mentioned here. Anyways, so Babs, Guy D, and Dino basically screenshotted this and kept bringing it up and calling them out and being like, hey, why are you threatening our members? Hey, since when did you think you had authority over this? And Babs ended up adding both of the presidents to talk to them and be like, hey, when the heck did you think you had the power to do that? And obviously, they tried to delete the message, but it was already screenshotted. And then all of them kept pointing fingers at each other, being like, no, I wasn't the one who wrote it. No, I wasn't the one who sent it. No, it wasn't me. It was him. It wasn't me. It was her. Now, when I woke up, I heard about this, I read it, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. So I immediately went and I messaged Emma's boyfriend, Ratha, and I was like, hey, what the heck was that about? And I can't access these messages now, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it because he disabled his account. But basically, what it boiled down to was like, oh, you guys have been harassing Emma and Harpy for so long. I just had to say something about it, but it wasn't me who wrote it. And then also, what happened during the fiasco is that Harpy declared herself as the other president, which everyone was confused about because we were like, you're not the president. What are you talking about? Anyways, so the first thing that Harpy and Emma did, obviously, was that they went to the teacher and they were like, hey, they're bullying us. Hey, can you tell them that we have the president title? Hey, I don't like it. Like, it's just these GCs. They're all harassing me. And then they said that Ratha was hacked and that somebody else wrote the message and, like, it wasn't any of them. And the reason I know that is because when I went to speak to them directly and I was like, hey, by the way, this happened. And I told them about Emma harassing me before. And he was like, oh, that's really concerning. But I already heard from them that he got hacked and I can't really prove that he didn't. And I was like, oh, well, I texted him this morning and he said that he was the one who wrote it because he did feel like they were disrespecting them. So that changed things up. But anyways, the teacher thought the best thing that they could do was give Harpy the title, which Man, I wish they didn't because oh my god. But anyways, they got their last say. We had the last event and then nothing happened after that. For anyone else, but I didn't get that. No, because right after this happened, guess who gets called down to the office? And not only got called down to the office, guess who wrote another document about me? Emma wrote another document about me. And then who else was writing about me? It was Harpy. And there was another girl who wrote about me. And it was Lemon. And Lemon, I haven't mentioned yet, but we're going to mention her. However, this video's already gotten pretty long, so if you're interested to hear what was written about me and or what Lemon did and or what happened after this, stay tuned for the next one.